Hello everyone, welcome back for another Star Trek Starships collection review. I have issue 141, the Vulcan T'Pau, as seen on The Next Generation, even though the model has been used on other shows like Deep Space Nine. And of course there's a nice looking model here, so put that aside and then we'll move on to the magazine. Okay, here it is. The Vulcan T'Pau, named after the infamous Vulcan from the original series, of course, and Enterprise, if you really want to go back further. It's considered Apollo class, considered a transport ship, launched in the 24th century, and can go as fast as warp 9.6. And so, nice image of the ship on the cover there. And yeah, turn the page, magazine format is the same. And you have a couple more information that was not on the cover here. The registry number is NSP-17938. And this particular ship was destroyed in 2368. And you turn the page and you have another profile view of the ship there, which is different than the one on the cover, which is always nice when when Eagle Moss does that, as well as text. And there's a picture of the character with whom the ship was named after. And turning the page, you have screen caps from the episode Unification 1 and 2. And of course, another view of the ship there, as well as text down there, and a picture of Commander Sela. And the one thing I wanted to point out is the Quellar 2 junkyard seen in Unification was probably the cool thing, because I think it was probably one of the first times we actually saw a junkyard in Star Trek. And oddly enough, that junkyard scene featured a lot of kit-bashed models that were used in various episodes and in the movies even. I think, of course, you can see the Katinga class Klingon battlecruiser right there. There's a couple of the Wolf 359 ships scattered about. And then there's a couple of space station or probe prototypes or something floating around there as well. Then there's like an Excelsior class. And then there's that I think that Star Trek The Motion Picture concept model that they did back then. But anyway, turn the page and you have the massive centerfold showing you where various components are, and text on both sides, of course. And here's a section on the designing process, or the design process of the T'Pau. As you can see by the concept art, it went through several phases until they arrived at the design, which we have now. And also, yeah, there's a screen cap of how it appeared on Deep Space Nine as the Vulcan freighter, so it still retained its Vulcan-like name or type. And here's magazine filler on season 5. Basically just a production design, so take a good look and read that. There's Darmok and more on season 5. Text about the production process and whatnot, and more on that, including Picard getting a haircut, even though he didn't really have a lot of hair. And finally, the on-screen appearance page. It's only appeared in Unification 1 and 2, and of course the ship itself was destroyed in that episode, so it was never seen again as in that form. Interesting to note is that this fellow here is the Romulan senator, at least as of that episode, Neral, who would later become Praetor Neral, which is like the Romulan version of an emperor of the Romulan Star Empire. And oddly enough, he was played by a different man on Deep Space Nine, a much older man. Of course, by then maybe 10 years or a few years had gone by since we last saw him. So he was a much older man by the time we got to season 7 of DS9 with the Dominion War. So anyway, and so that wraps up the magazine, and the back, of course, has a top profile of the ship there. So now, and without further ado, get to the model itself. All right, and here she is. And it's a pretty nice cool looking model. The design itself, now that I think about it and have it in my hand, it's very Vulcan. We didn't really get too much of a close-up look at it on screen in unification, because it was like, excuse me, seen on the view screen, so we didn't actually see much of it. And of course, they were blown up by a couple of Romulan warbirds. And apparently the Apollo class, as this class of ship, was also used as Starfleet ships, like transport ships or freighters or whatnot. So technically this could be another Federation ship, which is interesting. And you can, like I said, the Vulcan design, you got that ring going around it with your propulsion in the back or within the ring itself, which is kind of cool. And I love how this look has a very late 80s, 90s kind of look to it, which I really like. And the detail on the model is very basic. You have your Vulcan font there, which is something that the other Vulcan ships I don't think have. So that's kind of nice. And of course you have the symbol, the Vulcan IDIC, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. And of course you have some windows, which are unfortunately terribly misaligned, it looked like, which is a bit of a bummer. But oh well. From a distance, you can't really tell, but when you look up close, that's when you really notice it. The back features your, I'm assuming, your warp drive and impulse engine. So that's always cool when they put the clear plastic in there to symbolize that those engine components. And they have some not clear, but some painting marking thrusters or et cetera, et cetera. The bottom of the ship is just pretty plain, other than the actual paint and design itself, which is cool, but pretty basic. Nothing really important down there or anything. The front's kind of cool. If you're wondering what the metal to plastic ratio is, the ring itself is plastic. And of course, elements of this middle hull, star drive section, whatever it's called, this is plastic. Oh no, it's metal. This is metal, the die cast portion, and the bottom part is plastic. So you have a metal top frame and a plastic bottom frame. So all in all, it's a nice model, a very cool looking ship, and it's nice to have another Vulcan ship added to the collection. You know, so I do think at this point that Eagle Moss is kind of grasping for straws. We're trying to get some air here because at what, 141 issues into this collection so far, just starting to run out of ships, at least important ones. I mean, we have all the main hero ships, we have all the Federation ships, mostly at least one or two of every class, of every ship class. We have pretty much all the Klingon ships, the Romulan ships. We have two Ferengi ships, although I wish we would get the Ferengi shuttle from Little Green Men. We have, for the most part, the Cardassian ships. We have the Keldon, the Galore, the Hideki class, and I would love to have the freighter Gromall, but I don't know if that's going to ever happen. And, you know, we have a lot of Borg ships, and the list goes on, and it's very endless. But at this point, you can start to see that they're starting to run out of gas. They're just, like I said, at 141 ships, I think 160 or whatever number that they're getting to is about a good solid number. I think it's 150 or 160. Once it gets there, that's it. Hopefully it would end there. I know my wallet will be much better off, and my shelves will probably be much better off. But I'm very grateful to have all of these ships. I hope we get a few more good ones in, because it seems like we're starting to get to the little more boring ships. But cool nevertheless. Anyway, rant over. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to drop it in the comment section down below, or any comments or concerns or anything, criticisms or anything. I'll be happy to respond to you. And again, thank you so much. And also, I just want to point out real quick, I just realized that there's some more Vulcan writing there. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting this model, I would recommend it. It's pretty cool, very basic, but very cool. Gets the job done. It's a nice Vulcan ship. I'm guessing we're gonna have another Vulcan ship somewhere down the line, the Planet Hoth, I think. And I think that'll be it for the Vulcans, and then we'll move on to other things. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for watching. And considering it's a Vulcan ship, until next time, live long and prosper. And now I'm going to be quiet and show you what this looks like on the stand.